The cost of firing your gun in VATS is determined by both the type of gun and the parts that you have on the gun. Different kinds of guns cost different amounts to fire, so the base cost of firing a shotgun with all default mods and the base cost of firing a hunting rifle with all default mods is going to be different. And each part that you change on a gun can either raise or lower the AP cost depending on which type of part you're changing and which new thing you're putting on. Parts contribute additively, so putting on a stock might raise the AP cost of your shotgun by 7, and actually does. And it's still going to raise the AP cost by 7 even after you put on like a big drum mag and a long barrel and a really big scope and all this other stuff. Similar parts affect different guns by different amounts. So to use the stock example, throwing a stock in a shotgun increases the AP cost by about 7, whereas throwing a stock in a hunting rifle increases the AP cost by about 5.6. So it's not going to be the exact same. Some types of mods don't seem to affect AP cost at all. In my testing, anything that goes on the front of the gun, so this garbage, and also things that go on the front of energy weapons don't change the AP cost at all. Receivers also didn't seem to change anything on any of the energy weapons that I tried, but that could be just me. Different versions of the same mod, like a long scope, a long night vision scope, and a long recon scope, all have the same AP cost modifier. This also applies to things like receivers and barrels, so a long barrel and a long vented barrel are going to be the same unless there's something else going on, and a standard receiver is going to be the same as a calibrated receiver, and an automatic receiver is going to be the same as a armor-piercing automatic receiver. Mod parts with light in the name or description reduce AP cost, and mods with heavy, so like a light frame receiver and a heavy frame receiver, lower and raise your AP cost. Light lowers, heavy raises. And receivers with hair triggers, or sensitive triggers, I guess, in this case, dramatically reduce AP cost, whereas automatic receivers, for whatever reason, dramatically increase AP cost. On most automatic receivers, you actually get multiple shots off, but you're still increasing the cost of each shot, in air quotes. Otherwise, receivers tend to have the exact same AP cost, so again, all of these automatic receivers are the same, the hardened automatic, the rapid automatic, and this hair trigger is the same as the advanced, and so on. So they basically just fall into broad categories. Reflex lights and circular end of gun sights, so reflex lights and then also this malarkey, whatever that is, decrease AP cost significantly, whereas scopes increase AP cost significantly. Short scopes increase it by a lot, medium scopes increase it by slightly more than a lot, and long scopes increase it by a little bit more than slightly more than a lot. So figure like 10, 14, and 17 for the sake of example, with short, medium, and long scopes. Stocks also increase AP cost by quite a bit, but all stocks have the same rough picture size, unless they say light on them, or short on them, or something similar to the same. So literally all the shotgun stocks, other than short stock, are the exact same. They all increase by 7, in this case. Shorter barrels also decrease AP cost usually. But again, all marquee doesn't really matter, so this and this are the same in AP cost. The long barrel, long ported, and shielded barrel are the exact same. Barrels are pretty similar, basically. And then magazines are a little bit complicated. There's basically a couple of kinds of magazines. Medium magazines don't do anything. Drum magazines or large magazines increase cost, and then quick eject magazines decrease cost. Magazines are interesting because you can combine these traits. So a medium quick eject magazine is just a decrease, whereas a quick eject drum magazine is a decrease and an increase. And in this particular case, they cancel out, and it's the exact same as a stock gun, but that probably varies by gun. I did not test everything. In my testing, the effect of same name parts in different guns didn't fit a consistent pattern. I tried to do all sorts of stuff just to extrapolate, and every time I tested a new gun, basically everything went out the window. You can find some interesting correlations that make it seem like you're close, but then Bethesda just wants to throw a wrench in the gears, as far as I can tell. I've got a link to a spreadsheet with all of my testing results in the description. It's not necessarily formatted to be easy for you to read, but everything's there. So if you want to keep testing, please. I don't have the time or patience to test every part in every gun. There's a bajillion combinations, so I guarantee that I would have missed something no matter how thorough I tried to be. So instead, I just tried to test enough guns to satisfy my curiosity and to be able to actually make some interesting statements. I just use player.getAv action points after firing a single shot at Mama Murphy or Sturgis or whoever was convenient in order to get the exact cost of firing each gun. So I'm going to do that real fast just to demonstrate where's somebody I can shoot. Do I have anything more reasonable to shoot them? Sturgis likes to be on the roof for some reason, but he's not here. Oh, because it's the middle of the night. Okay, hang on. Hang on, I apologize for doing this in the middle of my video. Neither steady aim nor the quick reload perk affect the AP cost of firing, as far as I can tell. Which was interesting. Like, there had been some speculation in the comments of a previous video I'd made that fire accuracy had something to do with something, and steady aim claims to directly affect hipfire accuracy, but it absolutely does not affect the AP cost of firing. Quick reload is really helpful, and it makes reloads not cost anything in VATS, although they're already hella cheap in VATS to begin with. But it does not make your shots cost a different amount of AP. Where the heck is Sturgis? Or anyone. Your AP pool is determined. There we go. So, if I pop into VATS and I fire off a shot, you can see I've got 160 action points, and then once the shot fires, I got 134.8. So this is this rifle costs whatever 160 minus 134.8 is to fire, and then you can change some parts and see how that makes the cost go up or down, and you can do that with any gun, anything. And he doesn't even get angry. Like, I've literally shot him in the head 400 or 500 times, and he doesn't care because he's not very smart. Your AP pool is affected by your agility by the formula 60 plus agility times 10. I asked everybody on my friends list what their agility and AP was, and there were a couple of really weird outliers. Like, there was a guy who had 6.2 agility, and a guy who had 155 AP or something with 8 agility, and which is 5 more than he should have had. And he didn't have the magazine perk that gave him 5 agility, which is weird. There are a couple of ways to modify this. There is the magazine perk that gives you 5 agility. You can also get some things on armor that increases your pool of action points and stuff. This basically means that agility doesn't make firing the gun cheaper. It just increases the size of your pool. It's like saying that having more hit points makes monsters do less damage. If it hits you for 20 when you have 100 hit points, and it hits you for 20 when you have 200 hit points, it still hits you for 20, it just hits you for less of a proportion of your life. So that's what's going on when your agility goes up. The gun does less as a percentage of your pool, but it still costs the same amount to fire. Items with percent reduced action cost stack additively, which is really cool. So if you have a lot of them, because like I have a lot of them right now and they're all on for some reason, but that means that I literally have 50% off the action point cost of everything, which is, again, really cool. Stacking additively is extra cool because, you know, say something costs 20 to fire, like a laser pistol with nothing on it. The first piece makes it go down to 18, which is pretty cool. It's a 2-point cost reduction. And then the next piece makes it go down to 16, which is pretty cool. It's a 2-point cost reduction. But it's also a bigger percent cost reduction, if that makes sense. And don't worry about it. It's just really overpowered, basically, if you have a bunch of it. The more pieces you have with the stuff on it, the better it is. You can also get that on guns. That same roll on legendary guns. Like this one costs 25 less action points. And you can see that I can just fire a billion times. I actually can't fire anymore here. You can only queue up 16 shots in VATS. I mean, that would have used half my AP, and then I could have gone right back in VATS, but for whatever reason, you can only fire 16 shots. Probably because they didn't figure that people would have 10 agility on guns that were completely stripped down to use the lowest amount of AP possible. There's also a mod that you can get on guns that reduces AP cost by 40%, but I don't know where you get that. It's just in the game file somewhere. So if you do find that, that's really cool, and you can just shoot a billion times. And I believe that is everything. Again, check out the spreadsheet if you want some of the numbers that I found. All of these rules, though, should be generally accurate. That As long as the receiver's not automatic, you're probably good. Hair trigger receivers are good. Don't worry about upchambering. Short barrels are good. Don't worry about things that go in the end of your gun. Reflex sights are really good, and then try to use either a short stock, or it doesn't really matter. Stocks, again, don't really matter. And then you'll keep your AP cost down. Obviously, you can also just play through the game without using VATS. VATS is certainly not necessary, but I mean, I can queue up 16 shots in VATS. That's a little bit cool. So a couple of other things about VATS. One, you can drop out of VATS at any time, which, so let's say I shoot this guy, and then I don't want to shoot him, I can do that. But I can also do that just to cancel all the cutscenes. I can use it after I've shot an enemy, and I know I don't have anything useful queued up in VATS, I can use it to immediately requeue. The other thing you can do is on PC, you can hold V to free aim, and this is handy for a couple of reasons. One, because remember how I can cancel VATS at any time? In combat, I can just hold V and aim. Like, I can literally aim in VATS, and that can allow me to track bugs and stuff across my screen. I mean, normally VATS already snaps your cursor to a target, but you can just use this additionally to literally aim for free without spending action points, which it certainly isn't necessary in the game, but it's definitely a thing that you can do. Yeah. So I hope that was helpful to somebody. This is a little bit more factual than my last video, and I do hope that my rambling hasn't offended anybody. Please remember that this is YouTube, so if you want to, you can press all the little buttons at the bottom of the video and absolutely nothing will happen, but we can pretend. So good luck.